Welcome to episode 4 of Carp Angle. Hopefully it looks like there might be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel as far as the COVID. We got a bite. A live bite as we're doing the intro. What's the chances of that? Just get him out of this tunnel here. Doesn't feel massive, but oh, he's having a little pull up. Go on, mate. Well, we're currently at Walthamstow filming next month's piece with Terry Dempsey, and for that you'll have to wait and see. So we're going to get this one in the net, but for now sit back and enjoy episode 4. Talking of which, where is me net? Now, can you imagine getting a message like this out of the blue one day? Hi Joe, just bought a 16-acre lake. It was dug in the Second World War. There's definitely carp in there, but there's never been any fishing on there. Would you like to come and wet a line? That sort of thing doesn't happen, does it? Well, it has recently happened to me, and that's exactly where we are today. I've already been down here for one little look a few weeks back, and I was lucky enough to see a few fish, probably up to the mid-20 mark. As you can see behind me, it's quite a grey, drizzle old day, so not going to do the lake justice. However, we're so excited just to be here, and it is still looking lovely, even though it is the winter. So first up, let's go and have a little look around, see if we can spot any fish. Hopefully, we can see something to give us a clue of where to start, because this is all new to us. Literally only a couple of people have fished here in the last week or so. Other than that, it's only ever been poached a couple of times in the past, which I've managed to find out after doing a bit of digging. So I'll tell you a bit more about history as we walk round, but for now, let's go and have a look. I'll tell you what, it's a lovely, lovely day for a nice bit of music. Got something decent for us, Mike? I'm not sure about that one, mate. How about Beast Fence and Andromeda? Love it. See the main body of water here. I say the main body, there's two sections of a similar kind of size. This end's slightly bigger, but this is the deeper end and that's the shallow end. I know that because I've had a little drift around with Ben, the owner, when I came here before, and yeah, we actually bumped into some fish. It was, you know, it's the winter, and that day we found a load of them feeding. All the water was all coloured up, and you can imagine, absolute kid in a sweet shop business. An unfished lake with loads of carp in that are really active in the winter. I mean, what is going on here? And even today we've turned up, and when that ripple's just dropped off a little bit, you can see out in the middle there, there's two groups of fish where they're just touching the surface. You almost just see like a little set of lips come out occasionally, which is really peculiar behaviour. Yes, so with regards to the history of the lake, I mentioned it was dug in the Second World War. It was dug for like a local aerodrome. And since then, it's been owned by the same family. I think they've owned it for over 60 years now. And apparently they were like the pioneers of water sports in the UK. And this was literally just a holiday home for them. They had speedboats on here and done a bit of water skiing and what have you. And there's a nice big house up the back here. And yeah, this is where they came for their summer holidays. Wouldn't mind that, would you? What we have managed to find out is that there's been a few people poach it over the years. I've done a little bit of digging, and allegedly there was a £40 common caught out of here over 10 years ago, and apparently it went back as well. And there was a mid-30 mirror about 4 to 5 years ago. So you can imagine how excited we are at the prospect of fishing this lake. What I do know is there are quite a lot in here because of what we saw when we had a drift around before, and the majority of them did look mid to upper doubles. Looked like it was sort of different strains. Didn't get a really good look because obviously they spooked off once we got to them, but we know there's a fair few carp in here. We know there's potentially some big uns in here, and that is enough to wet the whistle big time. So yeah, as you can imagine, being a keen carp angler himself, Ben wants to experience this place in its raw form to start with. Obviously, if you take on a lake that's got an unknown stock, you want that for yourself. But he's a very generous guy because he's invited some of his mates down to have a little taste of the action too. So sharing the dream, if you like, which is very unselfish of him, because if it was me, I think I'd want it just to myself for the first few months, that's for sure. So we're going to come back throughout the year, we're going to see the place throughout the seasons in all its glory, and obviously, hopefully, get to meet a few of these residents that are in here. Now, due to the weather this morning, it was absolutely tipping it down. We didn't get here till early afternoon. So I think what we're going to do is worry about getting the rods out for now, because we've probably got about 2.5 hours of daylight. So we're going to be a little bit of messing about to get the gear around here and work out a plan of what we want to do. I think tomorrow's going to be a bit brighter, and there's potentially a chance we might be able to get out in a boat and have a proper look around, maybe bump into one of them little shoals. But yeah, as I say, for now, I think we need to worry about getting the gear out and making a plan of attack, because as you can imagine, me and Mike are super excited about the prospect of catching an unknown carp. Oi, oi. Well, last night there was a bit of a race to get the rods out before it got dark, so we didn't really have any time to do any filming. And this morning I set my alarm, got up half an hour before sunrise, sat there, and straight away I saw some ripples out in the lake. I thought, oh, is there a bird out there? I couldn't see any birds. So I thought, oh yeah, that must have been a fish. And 5 minutes later, one's come out to the right here. And then another one about 10 minutes after that. So I thought, right, I'm going to reposition them, because at least I know I can stick a single right on their heads. So I repositioned these two right-hand ones. This one's on a single diamond white with a few maggots on top of it. And the right-hand one down there is a bag of maggots. And so I recast both of them, and then it got really misty, and for the last sort of hour it's been mega misty. Haven't really been able to see that much of the lake. I was just sitting there having my second coffee of the day, and one of the rods has gone. We've got a carp on. The first one. Oh, buzz. Yeah, it was a bit of a funny old take at first. It started to be a little bit jittery, and then picked the rod up. Mike, I've got one. Well, here we go, look, this is, how exciting is this? Probably never seen a hook before, this fish. It's a little bit shallow in the edge here, but I've got a long net, so I should be all right, and then I'll have to get my waders on to go and get him. Oh, trees. Oh, lines. Come on, mate, under that one, over that one. You know the dance. It's going to swim into the net for me. Come on in, mate. Yeehaw! We've got one. Awesome. Oh, Ben's going to be well happy. Lovely little mirror. Right, we've got that fish safely secured in the retainer. Ben, as you can imagine, is on his way down, because he's just as excited as I am, probably more in fact. But I just thought, before I sling this out, I'll just show you what I caught it on. So, nice and simple, spinner, Ronnie, whatever you want to call it, 15-pound fluorocarbon boom, which is kind of stiff enough to stop it tangling, but also if that was to fall in to silt, then the hook link's still going to be able to lay down and settle on top of it nicely. Diamond white pop up, a few maggots on the top there, no tubing, no leg core. Reason for that is I knew I was going to have to whack it out away, so anything like that just slows it down a little bit. So if I take them off, I find that I add a few extra yards to my cast. Right, let's smash that back out there. I say smash, it was only about 90 yards to be honest with you. But yeah, let's get it back out there and hopefully there'll be another chance. But that's given us a lot of faith. You know, when you're sitting there, you know that a few other people have done a couple of nights and there hasn't been anything caught yet. You know they haven't really been fished for. And in your head, until you catch one, they're the uncatchables. But now we've had one off the bottom, and it gives us a lot of faith to do that tonight. You know, I think me and Mike were both thinking, well, maybe we've just got to be on all zigs, and I certainly was when I woke up this morning and saw fish, you know, at first light before the sun was even up, bits of their back sticking out of the water. It's like, what is going on here? I need every rod on a zig. And then an hour or so later, the rod on the bottom goes. So I think tonight it's going to be a scattering of boilies around that area, probably not loads, 100, 150 maybe, and then 3 hook baits around that zone. But you never know, we might have no one this morning. Oi, oi. And there we have it. The first secret mirror, 16 pounds, absolutely cracking fish. As you can see, he's really unique because he's got that stripe on his tail. I think there's a few kois in here, and I guess over the years they must have crossbred. So yeah, there's going to be a few with little hints of ornamental in them, I imagine. But yeah, he's got a lovely neat mouth on him. Well chuffed. And now we know they're catchable, because obviously any lake you fish, when you go there, until you've caught one, it's hard to be 100% confident in what you're doing. But after having this one off the bottom, because to be honest with you, I had sat there and thought, right, it's going to be all zigs, because I'd seen fish on the top again. But when I saw one show at first light, or just after first light, I thought, wow, he's sticking his head out at this time in the morning. He's got to be having his breakfast, isn't he? Surely. So yeah, single hook bait out to where he was, and got ourselves a carp. Chuffed to bits for that. Let's see what the day brings. Very exciting. Oi, oi. Well, big old downpour has just begun. I've not got my waterproof jacket on like a silly boy, but what I have got on is another carp. Yes, yes, yes. So okay, is it the same rod? Oh, no, it's the other one I recast out actually. Moved into the similar area with an IB, and I've actually put out probably 150 baits around that zone only an hour or so ago as well. So to get a bite over that quickly, it's a really good sign. They're responding to the bait, they're out there, and they're catchable. So who knows what we've got on this time. Oops, just picked up that other line there. Right, I've fully tangled up with my other line there. My own stupidity for not threading it under the rod when I had the chance. But it's in the net, so that's all we're worried about. Can sort out the line afterwards, can't we? Yeehaw! Common, probably a similar size, maybe another pound or two big. Better get the old waterproofs on. God, I tell you what, water's really, really cold, but the weather is CAF, just how we like it. Well, he's down there in his sling, and I've got no rods in the water, so fresh Ronnies, spinners, whatever, on all 3, ready to go. And I'm gonna have 2 on the diamond whites, and probably 2 on the IBs now. I've just had him on one. I've taken off the maggots. To be honest with you, I don't think they're really required. Maggots are absolutely fantastic bait, and on some waters they're a huge edge, especially at this time of year. But these fish haven't really been fished for much, so it's more about conditioning them into eating boilies. So there's a bit of a spread of bait out there now, single bright hook baits in amongst it, and you know, it's something bright. It's going to grab their attention. And like I say, you know, if we can get them eating boilies, then they're going to start looking for boilies and actively hunting them out, because they're hungry fish. You can see they're not full, not at their maximum potential, shall we say. So yeah, lovely, neat and tidy, does the job every time. Let's get them out there, and hopefully we might have another one or two to show you. Next one could be a big one, who knows? It really is a lake of box of chocolates, this one. But as I say, in the meantime, get these rods out. We'll have a nice little look at him, because I think he's a little bit bigger than the last one. And yeah, another little character. Now, as I was sitting there last night on my phone, I had a screenshot of Google Earth, and I could see that out here, there's a shallow hump. It's such an amazing tool, Google Earth. I spend ridiculous amounts of time on it. It's just a perfect way of getting a lake into your head before you've actually been there. But not only that, it really can help to sort of unlock some of the lake secrets, if you like. You'll often see shallower areas, bars, plateaus, but the real fantastic tip on there is, if you've got it on the laptop and you've got the actual app, on the top of the screen there's a little clock. If you click on that clock, you can see all the pictures that have ever been taken of that view. So sometimes you go back, you might find one in the winter where the water's a lot clearer, where the fish are not feeding so much, and suddenly you can see all these little features. Not only that, you can measure distances as well. So yes, it's something that I just spend so much time on. As a kid, I used to follow little streams and rivers, walking up them to see where they go. Well, now I follow them on Google Earth. Anyway, so yeah, this hump that was out there, I could see it on my phone last night, and I thought, oh, that looks like it's about in line with the house. And that last rod that had that fish on was actually on that sort of line, but probably 30 or 40 yards past that. And as I'm playing it in, it felt like it actually got snagged up. And obviously, if I hadn't have seen that photo, I wouldn't actually known what was going on, whether there was a snag out there or something, but realised that it must have been the clay hump. Walked up a bit higher, got the tip as high as I could, a little bit of strain on it, and it popped away from there. And it was in open water, and managed to play it in safely. So, as I said, amazing tool, and one that will definitely help you catch more carp. Yo, yo, yo. Well, I think it's been about an hour and 20 minutes since that last fish, and about 20 minutes ago I topped up with another 100 or so baits. So they're definitely reacting to that bait, which is great. They love a bit of the cell. I just glugged it in that cream smart liquid as well, and I don't know, I guess if they are in that water column and that's coming off as the bait's falling down, it's definitely not doing any harm anyway. Similar to the first one, but maybe a little bit, yeah, he's a little bit bigger. I'll tell you what, he might be a 20 pounder. Go on. Oh, no. Net's caught on the sling. There we go. Could be the first 20 from the secret mere. Yeah, I reckon he is. Awesome. Ben's definitely going to want to see that one. Well, you have to excuse the state of me. The hair and makeup team are on furlough still, unfortunately. Well, there we go. I actually thought this was going to be about 18, but it turns out it's just over 15, about 15 and a half or so. But look at them lovely orange lines down its belly. But what's quite exciting about this is he's got a bit of a belly to him. So he's certainly not underweight for his size, which means that they're not all malnourished, which we thought might be the case. So that means that there's every chance there could still be some chunks in here. That's awesome. And we've got another one, which I'm just going to get out now. It's actually a little bit bigger. I reckon it might even go 20 pound. So blinding start on the mere. Awesome, exciting bit of fishing. And also for the time of year, obviously it's freezing. Yeah, exciting winter fishing at its best. Right, let's get this one back and we'll show you the other one. Well, I sound like a bit of a wimp here when I say this is getting heavy. But it's been a while since I've caught and had to hold up some fish. But yeah, just under 23 pound. Look at him for a character. 3 big scales on the shoulder there, so you'd recognise that for sure. A few little scars here and there. Those little white marks, I think, are where the argulus have been. But he looks, yeah, I reckon he's quite old, I reckon. I reckon quite a lot of these fish are. And one thing that we've noticed about all 3 of them so far is they've got little withered fins. And this one's actually got a couple of splits on one fin. So I'm guessing at some point they might have had a bit of fin rot, which could potentially have been caused by them putting the koi in here from someone's pond. But I'm no expert, that's just my guess on the situation. But it seems like they've healed up from that fine now. So, yeah, they're all good and healthy. As you can imagine, Ben, the owner, is super excited to hear that there's been a couple more out. So he wants to come down and check them out. So we're going to pop these back into the slings for now. He's going to be down in about 20 minutes. But obviously we needed to do this whilst we still had the light. Mega result. Well, they're all out there ready for tonight. It's just about to get dark. I'm going to cook me and Mike some macaroni cheese up tonight. So it's going to be a nice evening on the bank. You never know, we might bump into 1 or 2 more of these old fellas. Oh, just put you down.
It's the first one out of the mere, and also the first time I've been this side of the camera, so absolutely buzzing. As you've seen, Joe's already had 3. I ate another fish on the way down when I put that rod back out, so there's every chance of another bite. But not a bad way to get things rolling, is it? We get this little one back and hopefully get amongst some of the bigger residents later on. Right, so I'll slip that coming back now. Considering that Joe had them fish off the bottom earlier just by firing a few boilies out, I think we're going to take the other rods off the zigs. I had a suspicion, we see them cruising around on the top earlier, and I just thought zigs have got to be an obvious plan, but not a touch at all. So I'm going to bring them in, I'm going to redo this one, get it back out straight away, and then yeah, hopefully a few more come our way. Right, so I'm going to be keeping it really simple. I've got a mix of Tiger Nut pop-ups all in the same pot. Got the match the hatch, pink and white. I'm going to go with the white, purely copying Joe a little bit, as he's been having the bites on whites, and that one came on a white as well. So stick them all on Ronnie's now. Nice and easy. Got a little quick change section on there. Relatively long boom just to make sure that it's presented at any silt. I mean, the bottom's pretty uniform. It's nothing major out there. A few little silt pockets we found, but nothing to be concerned about. Every time I brought a rig back and changed the hook bait, it's coming back clean. So not really concerned about anything else. There's plenty enough to keep it nice and clean. So yeah, change them all over and hopefully we'll get a few more. Right, well, I've got all the rods at 20 wraps, just sort of in a line across the side of the island. A couple of them are going down soft, but the right-hander has got a bit of a crack to it, so it's definitely worth somewhere investigating. But yeah, nice and uniform, nice and easy. Probably the easiest bit of fishing I've ever done in a while. I'm normally boilie crumb liquid, maggots, trying to get them out there this time of year, but being able to stick boilies out of a throwing stick with no drama, I'm enjoying the simplicity of it. That'll do, perfect. Went down soft, but that'll be all right. Got a spread of boilies all in that area, so I'm confident with that. Well, what a morning it's been, eh? Got a bite just before first light, and then 20 minutes later it went again. So I topped up with bait. Joe was still asleep, so I didn't want to disturb him, but I snuck in his swim and pinched his sling. And just as we were preparing to get these ones sorted, rod went again. And before I managed to get another rod back out there, another one's gone. Yeah, it's been a bit chaotic. So I've had 4. Joe's literally just had another one as we're setting up the cameras now. Yeah, we're going to get these ones back and try and get through these fish. Got a cracking mirror to show you as well.
Well, look at them. The old box of chocolates lake. I think we should call this Thornton's Mere.
I think so, mate. It's throwing up a few different characters, isn't it?
Yeah, it's an absolutely glorious day. Don't expect days like this in the winter, but the sun is shining, we can feel the warmth off it. But more importantly, getting a few bites.
We are, mate, we are. We've definitely sussed what's working, mate, haven't we? So we've still got pretty much the whole day left as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a little scoot about today, and we'll probably fish till sort of early afternoon, and then maybe go and have a little look around in the boat. And might even get some shots of some sitting on the surface, because would you believe it, at 7 o'clock this morning again, there's fish out in front of me on the top. Madness. Right, let's get these ones back, yeah?
Yes, mate.
Sweet. Well, we've been putting off the packing up this morning just because it is such a glorious day. It feels almost spring-like, which is just crazy for this time of year, but certainly not complaining. You can really feel the warmth from the sun on your skin. My bivvy bag, which is damp, has been literally steaming in the sunlight. But 2 typical things have just happened. One, Mike went to his car to drop some kit around there, and I had a bite. Secondly, I've had a GoPro set up trying to capture the bite all morning, and literally that died 3 minutes before I had this take. So there you go, typical, eh? I was obviously tempting fate having the GoPro set up. I tell you what, we've got an absolute weapon of a carp here. This one has given us huge hope for the potential of the place. It looks like a bit of a younger fish. It looks like it hasn't suffered from any of the fin rot issues that some of the other ones have. Yeah, super clean and super scaly. So let's get him on the bank in that glorious sunshine and have a look at him. Well, would you look at this for an absolute peach of a carp. Buzzing with that one, as you can see. Looks fairly young, really clean, hardly any leeches on it, no argillus on it. that I've seen so far anyway. When it was in the water, it had a couple of little speckles, like tinges, to some of its scales that suggested maybe it did have a tiny little bit of ornamentalist in it. So yeah, I'm guessing that maybe it's the younger ones that didn't experience the fin rot, because all his fins look pretty good. There's a little bit of pink on the end there as well, so but look at that for an absolute stunner. And like I said, you know, it just goes to show we have not got a clue what's in this lake, and the potential is massive. Allegedly done a 40 pounder over 10 years ago, and a 38 about 5 years ago. And as you can see, they're looking healthy, they're looking happy, and who knows what could be in here. So we're just going to have to play the numbers game, keep going through them, and hopefully we might get to meet some of his parents or grandparents. Oh, look at that sunshine, it's absolutely glorious. Right, we're going to get the rods in now, and we're going to have a little scoot around in the boat just because it's such a nice day, and it would be nice to trickle a little bit more bait in so that when we come back, they're looking for it. Awesome. Well, rude not to have one last little look at that in that glorious sunshine with the sun glinting off the scales. You're all right, mate, aren't you? Exciting times on Thornton's Mere. Back you go, lovely. Well, as you can imagine, me and Mike were like a couple of school children ready to get out in that boat, but unfortunately when we got round there, it turned out there was no life jackets and we didn't fancy taking the chance. Safety first and all that. We'll make sure we've got some in the car ready for next time. So yeah, join us then. Part 2 of Secret Mere, coming soon.
So a picture paints 1,000 words, so I'm really into my photography. I'm always clicking away. Just upgraded my camera kit recently actually, and capturing the whole moment of the carp fishing journey is vitally important to me, and probably includes quite a few fish pictures, partly because I'm fairly useless and partly because you're usually waiting a long time between bites. So, and partly because also I could take more pictures, but I never want to be not looking at the water and miss something. So you've got to pick your moments. I mean, dawn shots are lovely, but I never get as many as I should, because to get up at first light and then not be looking at the lake because you're sitting down, it's very hard to juggle it all. But I try and take as many as I can, and to capture that journey and the atmospherics, like, you know. This particular shot is a fairly bland shot. It's by no means one of the greatest pictures I've ever taken, but I took it on the start of a very crisp morning in late May. And it was, to me, it just sums up what Joe wanted from this, because it is about a picture looking quite nondescript, but behind that picture is a bigger picture, if you like. So for this image, it was just a shot through misty, dew-dropped hock plants, I think they're called hock anyway, with the misty lakescape behind. And I took it as very, very shortly after I woke up, knowing that I had to be somewhere else. It was one of those moments where instinct or sixth sense or whatever you call it took over, and I woke up knowing that I had to pack up immediately and move to another part of the lake. And I took this picture just because I knew that something was unfolding, and I wanted to record the moment of it unfolding in my mind, if you like. Very rarely will I pack up and move at first light unless it is saliently obvious that I need to do so. And there wasn't anything obvious on this particular dawn that meant I had to move, other than this gnawing in my back of my mind that I had to be at the other end of the lake fishing a particular area. And I got up. Normally would at least wait through bite time on any lake, you know. I may be up till 10 or 11 in the morning. I would very rarely pack up and move unless something was glaringly obvious, as I said. But on this particular morning, I was packed up before 6 a.m. in most. It had not been long. I got up when it was just getting light, and then I made a coffee and set about packing up, did this particular picture, and then followed my instinct, brought the rods in from where they'd been perfectly placed in what was ostensibly bite time, put everything in the van, drove to the other end of the lake, and went into this little slot where I just had been compelled to be since the minute I'd opened my, I think the idea had even come to me during the night. It had been seeded in my mind, gnawing away for hours. And when I walked into this spot, I just knew it was the right thing to do. And as I looked out, there was a boy, an old sailing club boy, about 20 or 30 yards out in the lake. And the mist was just sort of smoking past it and through it. And this boy every now and again would just tremble like that, just subtly, where a carp was flanking or rubbing itself against the chain that was anchoring it down. Up to the right in the mist, there was this really deep, oily wallow. You know those ones where a really big fish has done it because the water just moves out so slowly and the ripples were spaced so far apart. It was just this huge displacement. And that was it. It set everything in a chain of events in place that began that morning with the gnawing away in my brain, the recording of the moment with that single image on the camera, packed up, moved, and a few hours later I caught a 50-pound mirror carp, which is still my biggest mirror carp in the UK today. So it all started there. That's the story behind the picture, and paints 1,000 words.
Carp in Calamities. For sure I've had a few myself, but the one that stands out the most, and it's making me laugh now, I'll never forget it to this day, was not long after I joined Nash, probably a year in. I was sitting with Kev, we were going to go fishing that evening. He was on one side of the desk, I was on this side, and we're tying rigs. And he's explaining to me about how great the blowback rig is with amnesia and the supple section of a little bit of braid, and he's using a size 6 Fang X, and he's trying to tighten the combi knot by putting the thing in his mouth, teeth, and pulling it down, and he's impaled the hook dead in the centre of his bottom lip with a barb. And he's just gone, f***ing get it out. And I'm like, oh. Now up until this point, I'd never hooked myself before. I have since now done it 3 times, I keep a record. But at this point, I'd never even seen anyone with a hook impaled into him. It weren't just anyone, it was him. And I ain't been working for him for long, and I am shaking, and he's just going, get it f***ing out. So I've gone around the other side of the desk, and I'm just playing with it, like everything, a little wobble we're hitting there, and I could just see him getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And now there's blood trickling down the side of his cheek, and in the end, he's gone, go and get Sarah. She was the financial director at the time. So I've run out of the office, come back in with her, and now the pair of us are playing with his face and that, trying to get this hook out. In the end, we did get it out. He explained the importance of kind of putting a pressure point either side, and then it was just brute force. We just ripped it out. That was the biggest calamity I've ever seen. And the biggest regret was not getting a photo of him with this hook impaled into his bottom lip.
What's happened to morning to you? Well, I got the rods out just before dark last night. Jumped in the swim, which was kind of the nearest one to where I was fishing that margin spot. Had a little lead around, found a nice little hump. Oh, time to get up. Yeah, had a little lead around, found a nice clear hump, really lovely. About 8 foot on top of it. Sort of probably 10, 12s either side of it. So I put 3 rods on that, scattered about, I don't know, 100, 120 baits around it. About 11 o'clock, had a bream. I thought, oh no, like this is going to be bream all night. And I was so tired, I just thought, well, I'm going to leave that rod in. Still got 2 baits on that hump. 3 o'clock in the morning, middle one's away. Came in pretty easily, and I got another carp in the sling waiting for his pictures. So it's not a big one, it's a nice common, probably upper double, maybe a scraper 20. But it's just getting light now, so another 20 minutes or half hour should be enough light to have a little look at him. Wicked. Proper mega little session this one. I've done 4 nights and had 5 fish. Bloody good going on here. And I've still got today too. I think I probably will head home later. I absolutely stink and desperately need a bath. We'll see though, see what happens today. Hopefully that friendly common's going to be back visiting that margin spot. Yeah. There we go. Lovely jubilee. It's renowned to be a really tricky lake, this one, so to get this many in a session is pretty good, or jammy, should I say. The old link doing the business, because I've been applying it little bits here and there everywhere. They should have all been getting a little taste of it, and hopefully it means they're searching it out like any good bait should. Oh, like any good bait should work, should I say. Right, well chuffed for that. Let's get him back and have a nice cup of coffee as a reward. Oh, nice little look. Nice to meet you, mate. Don't tell the friendly that I'm looking for him or her. Well, back in my little hole. I only had 3 hours last night and only 4 the night before, I think, so had to have a couple of hours sleep this morning. It's about 9 o'clock now, so I reckon I've got here before their breakfast. I reckon they've been out in the pond having their breakfast, but I bet there was some in here last night. Put about a pound of link crumb in here last night. Crushed up with a crusher, so it's really fine. And then just moistened a bit in my hand in the edge. Chucked out a little ball of it. Oh, a few little balls, but as it's falling through the water, you can just see all these little dusty particles filling all parts of the water column. So the whole spot is surrounded by that lovely, dusty, linky attraction. So it's a few handfuls of that. And hopefully we're going to be back sometime soon. But it's still quite early. The early bird catches the worm. Well, not early compared to what I'm used to. But early for in the edge, that's what I mean. Well, we've just had our first customer of the day. Small scaly mirror in there. One of the stockies, I reckon. But I was sitting up the tree, and because of that big one in there yesterday, I'm thinking, do I really want to disturb the spot with a small one? And the answer is no. So I was actually snapping twigs up the tree trying to get this fish to spook off, because it just had its head down on the, well, right near the rig, to be honest. But it's on a proper troughing mission. Looks well up for being caught. I've just walked across there just to get my camera, just to try and spook it off, which is sounds a bit crazy, but when there's a mid-40 common that hasn't been out for 5 years, that's been visiting the spot the day before, I want everything in my favour for that one. It's crazy, you know, after all these years, been fishing, what am I, 37 now? I know, I only look 27. Yeah, right. Been fishing since I was 4, been carp fishing since I was like 11, 12ish, and I still get such a huge buzz from it. You know, like the level of adrenaline yesterday was probably unhealthy. It was making me feel sick in the end. But even sitting here now, you know, only seen one little one on the spot, shaking. The anticipation of that big one returning today has got me. Just praying to the carp rods that it returns and has a little snuffle on my hook bait. Well, I managed 2 nights at home before I had to get back to the lake. What can I say? I've got the bug at the moment, and you know, I was locked up for a long time. Even before the lockdown, I spent a lot of time indoors, far too much time for me, who, you know, somebody who loves being outside. So I'm making up for it now. Why not? So I got down here about 2-3 o'clock, I reckon it was. Went straight to the margin spots on Long Reach, put a bit of bait in them. Didn't hang about to see if there was any fish coming in. I just thought, no, just give them a bit of grub, get them used to coming in there again. And obviously, you know, that's what made the difference last time. The longer you can bait a spot for without fishing it, the better the results you'll have when you do fish it. So I done a lap, went to check on my spot on the Big Fjords, which is a spot that opened up last year with a view to fished it from the edge, but a tree had fallen over this year, making that a little bit awkward. So there's another spot, that an angle, you know, sort of there's not a swim there, but a little bit where I knew I could cast to it from. So anyway, I've been baiting that spot up. Lo and behold, I walked around there today, there's 2 massive fish sitting on the top above the spot. I mean, I assumed it was the brown just because of how big it was, but I didn't see a lump on the side. There was a lot of fluff on the surface, the light wasn't very good, but 2 very big 40-pounders for sure, and a few others with them. So I think it was that gang that I met, that I bumped into when I first got here a few weeks back. And I have heard they like that area, so that was, you know, one of the reasons why I've been trickling the bait into that spot. So I had a little go around there for a bit, but to be honest, they were just sitting on the surface, not wanting to do a lot. I probably should have had a go on the top, but I don't know why I always bottle it and think I'm just going to spook them and scare them out of the area. So I found another little spot in that bay, which required a much easier cast, or not even a cast, just a little drop into the margins. And I baited that up because I saw those 2 big fish come right in the edge there. And that's a lot easier to access, you know. The one that I had been baiting up is a bit of a tricky cast, might take a few attempts. So yeah, hopefully they're going to get on that new spot at some point. I imagine they're only there in the daytime, they'll probably move out of there at night. So what I've done is I've tried to leapfrog them, guessing what they're going to do. If they move out of here into the meadow, then I've got traps set up around the bar to try and intercept them. It's a lovely swim, this one, right out on the end of a point. I was fishing halfway along here the other week, and I did actually bait up these spots when I left, so they've had a little bit of grub, and as far as I know, no one's fished out here yet this season. However, a few of them reeds have been trimmed, looking a bit suspicious, so maybe they have. It's only because the water's been up, so it's been a bit flooded, but I'm sure the odd hardcore person's been out here and having a go. Anyway, it's a lovely evening, it's 9 o'clock, I've not eaten yet, need some food, got a couple of burgers to cook up, so I'm going to do that, have a little chill, get myself an early night, and I'll be up at 4 o'clock. Happy days. Well, none of the traps I set last night have been sprung, unfortunately. So I'm not sure whether they were coming out into this meadow or not, but it seemed like a good move. Apparently they normally do when they're in here in the day, they're normally out there at night, so there's a chance they might still come across here this morning. One did bosh out about 11 o'clock right on the bar, so I was kind of hopeful, because I've not put a lot of bait out, just literally sort of half a pop-up tub full of little bits and pieces, so just enough for a bite really. I've got one just off the left-hand side of the bar where it drops off a bit, halfway along. And what I've done is I've actually put a pole out there, so I'm fishing it washing line style out to the pole, and then slack line down to the spot. Obviously that prevents any line being out on the bar, and the other one's actually on the bar itself, literally in a welly's worth of water. Well, I think it just about comes up to my knee. Lovely little spot. Like I say, I baited it a couple of weeks ago. Again, they might be a little bit spooky when they come across that bar. They might, you know, not really want to stop, but I thought it was worth trying to stick one in their noses, intercept them, put one where they probably don't normally see a bait, or certainly haven't done for a long time. But look, what a glorious morning, and a lovely view too. Didn't bother with a bivvy last night, just under the stars, so my bed is soaked with dew, but that'll soon dry out once this sun warms up. There's a guy over there who actually lives on the lake. I bumped into him once last year, and it's funny actually, I'd forgotten what he even said to me until I bumped into someone else the other day, and he'd said the same thing to him. And basically that was that, you know, like I said, I saw him last year and he said, I said, how you getting on, mate, you all right? He went, yeah. He said, not too bad. He said, I dropped back 4 months ago. So, all right, okay, how many nights you done since then? He's like, all of them. So anyway, I actually forgot that he mentioned that to me, but like I say, I bumped into someone the other day and he'd said the same thing to him. But it wasn't last year, it was this year. I'm thinking maybe he's a little bit shrewd. He's probably smashing it up. But yeah, he literally just lives on that point over there. Fair play to him. Porridge o'clock. I like to make it a little bit runnier so I can just drink it. And it's too thick, I find it a bit hard to get down, but like this, it's just like a porridge smoothie. That's a bit of energy for the day. Plan is, I'll give it till about 8 or 9 here. At the moment, I think it's about 6 o'clock. I've been keeping a little eye on the spot down in the corner, which I baited up yesterday. I've got a feeling they're going to come back in there today. Also got that other spot on Long Reach, so yeah, plenty to do, keep me busy. Hopefully we might have a carp to show you later on. Hopefully that big friendly common. Oh, yeah. Right, well, I left that swim at about 8:30. Wasn't anything happening down there. So I went and baited up the spots in that corner where I saw the big uns yesterday and a couple on Long Reach. Come back to check one of them on Long Reach and there was one in there absolutely tearing it up. Now this is the spot where I normally use my 6-foot rod, but today I've been using my 12-foot. 3 different reasons for that. One is I can lower the bait out and just drop it in gently without having to flick it out and make a splash. Using little solid bags, so it does make a bit of a splash. 2, because if they do go out into the lake, then it gives me a bit more leverage. They go left or right to pull them back round. And 3, because some idiot left his 6-foot rod at home. Yeah, schoolboy error. Anyway, just caught this lovely Long Reach stocky, which looks quite similar to the one I had the other day actually. The smaller one. Well, we're not going to see him, are we? Top of the morning to you. Don't know what is going on with my barnet, but hopefully I'll be able to have a proper haircut soon. So, little update for you. Yesterday, done a fair bit of walking again. Checked that spot on the fjords. One fish came in there, but I didn't spend much time in there. Basically, it was going to tip down, and I think they get in there when it's hot and giving it a good baiting. Probably better off just letting them visit that freely for now. On Long Reach, I'd seen a couple cruising around in the morning in this corner, and then in the afternoon there was a couple cruising around the weed beds, and 2 fish boshed out here in an area which I managed to find a spot in. Good fish as well. So thought of doing a night in here. I've also been topping up my spot. Last night I gave it a really good hit of bait, the margin spot that is, and it was all mopped up this morning. So I've topped it up twice already, and obviously once this rain dies off a little bit, I'll go and investigate with a rod. But I think today I need to just keep baiting it and keep an eye on it, you know. Obviously if I want to catch a big one out of there, I need to let the big ones get in there and have a feed and not just catch whatever's going into the area, because obviously that's going to end up probably spooking them off the spot. So yeah, I need to sit on my hands and just keep trickling it in, giving them that free feed, and hopefully more of them will be coming in and visiting and coming back when I've got a rod there. I might even do a night in there, to be honest. There's not really space for a bivvy or a bed, but you know, they're obviously getting in there at night, so a little bit of rough in it won't hurt, will it, if it's worth it for the cause. This morning this rain is absolutely relentless. It's been going for about 6 hours already, pretty much non-stop. I think we had a 10-minute window of where it died off a little bit, and I haven't seen any fish out here, so Yeah, I mean, I'm not really expecting one of these to go, but as always, you never really know. Well, been another busy old day at the St Ives complex. First of all, as you can see, new bivvy behind me. You might have noticed in some of me other videos in the last couple of weeks that my one was looking rather old and rather weathered, shall we say. Jerry Bridger classed it as a relic. It's well, pretty sure it's over 10 years old now, and it's had a lot of abuse in my use, so it's done well to last this long. But yeah, it's nice to have a new one, and I certainly needed it this morning with that relentless rainfall. So after the rain stopped at about midday, I packed up and done a few kilometres. I saw today on Instagram Daryl Peck doing some pull-ups with his top off, and he added a bit of extra weight to make it harder for him. So that inspired me, so I chucked a few bottles of water that I didn't need on my barra, and anything else I could pile up on there. Made it as unsturdy as possible and as heavy as possible, and done some laps of the lake. Feeling it. What happened on the fish front today? Well, I didn't actually catch anything, but what did I see? God, it all blurs into one when you've been down here a few days. Basically, I jumped on the little spot that I've been baiting up on the fjords, just because it looked good. There was a few little bubblers coming up. It was still overcast and cool. It looked and felt quite carpy. I didn't see any fish there, but I thought I might as well give it a couple of hours. Then laughed that off, went for a little lap around Longreach, found some weed, so went and got a barra, went back there, watched them for a little bit, but they just looked like they wanted to spawn again. I know they've already had one go on there, but obviously some of them haven't, and they just look like they're in that mood where they're just charging around on the surface. I saw 3 come right in the edge, well, 3 smaller ones with a slightly bigger one. Sort of bigger one was probably mid-20 or something, and that sort of flanked on the bottom, you know, right sort of 3 foot out, right next to a swim. So they just didn't look like they're acting normal to me. So I left them to that over there, and being that I've been baiting this spot on the fjords now for well, the last couple of sessions, I thought I should give it a night, especially after seeing them big uns in there the other day. I think it is more of a daytime area, however, you never know until you try. Never try, never know. So as I've got one rod up there, I thought I might as well put 2 out on the fjords, or sorry, on the meadow here in the corner. Just opened up the reeds a little bit for a nicer view, and so I could cast. And yeah, we've got southwesterlies coming in the morning. It's going to be southerly throughout the evening, but it's going to be a nice breeze all night, so that's good. Like I say, the last 2 times I've been over here on the end of a southwesterly, nothing's happened, but this is going to be a warmer one, so, and a new wind compared to what we've had the last sort of week, so you never know, they might push over, but it's really, the main reason I'm here is for this rod on the old brown spot. Come on the brown, tonight could be the night.
What advice would I give my younger self? Well, in hindsight, I think I'd tell myself to try not to get angry and frustrated about the things that you can't change in life, you know, what's going on in the world around you. Concentrate on the things that you can change, the little things close to home, you know, those are the things you can have some effect on. A lot of the anger and frustration I think people feel today is they feel helpless. So yeah, I think try and forget that, turn the news off, get on with fishing and enjoy life and your family and your friends. In terms of fishing, that's a different matter. I've got loads of good advice for myself because, you know, as anglers we're learning all the time. One thing I would definitely say to myself is use stronger gear. You know, as a teenager we all fished perhaps with gear that wasn't quite up to the job and lost a few fish as a result. Nowadays I fish with stout rods, 20-pound line and big hooks, you know, and I don't lose as many as I used to. So yeah, that's a good bit of advice. Definitely get on your toes more, don't be lazy. Funnily enough, I think as I've got older, I've got more energy in fishing, you know, in terms of moving about and moving and shaking. So yeah, strong gear, get on your toes, get yourself a baiting pole, game changer.
I suppose you talk about red letter sessions, it's hard to really distinguish a red letter session, you know, because I've had so many, I really have. I've been so fortunate to have caught the fish that I've caught. But I suppose when I look back a long time ago when 30s were really rare on the ground and I caught 3 in a trip, that was, I suppose, one of the most memorable hauling trips ever. And the way we done it and all, it was really cool at the time. Me and my friend Tony Moore, who I was fishing with, we'd been fishing another area of the lake and we'd been doing well. But as takes started to dry up, there was a bit of drying up going on and there wasn't a lot of action. So what we'd done is we rolled a load of bait on the bank. We rolled like an absolute, you know, carpet full of bait, massive carpet full of bait, boiled it all up. And just before we left, there was no one fishing up this particular end. It was just totally dead. You know, people weren't fishing it anyway because it was fishing quite hard. So we went up there and we put a whole lot of this bait in with catapults. I think we went through two lots of catapult elastics. We had to keep changing. That's how much we were putting in. Putting them in there, oily fish meals and all really covered in oil, big golf balls, one after the other. And we filled the whole area in anyway. We went home for about 4 or 5 days. And when we went back to the swim, no one had been in the area. We talked to a couple of lads who had been down here the weekend. They was in a different part of the lake. Not a lot had been caught. Anyway, we got our rods out and the baiting up that we'd done had worked out absolutely perfect for us. The wind had picked up. On the first morning, we had a really strong southwesterly start blowing into 2 famous swims. One was a swim called Booker's Bay and the other was a swim called the Pallets for people who know the Tip Lake. So anyway, these winds piling down this southwesterly and all the fish must have come down and piled on it because over the next 6, I think we done 6 nights, I think we landed about 17 carp and every one of them they were all the 8. We got right through the A team that week, including we had the lake record. I had the lake record that week, which was Big H at 34 pound. I caught Scarbar at 32 pound that week. I caught the Parrot at 30. Tony caught Big Bollocks that week and the Pilgrim. So we were talking all the main A team we caught in one trip, and that baiting up and what we'd been doing, it just all paid off. It was really weedy and all the spots we were fishing were really weedy. We were literally casting long hook links in the weed, piling baits in the weed and the rods were ripping off. So yeah, that's got to be my biggest bumper session. You know, to catch 330s in a trip in the 1980s, pretty rare.
It's not a success story, in fact it's more disaster really, and it doesn't involve a fish. On Horton back in the, when would that have been, the 90s was it? Anyway, when we were on Horton, I bought an aquadome, which was a dome tent. Within a short space of time, or by the next winter, everyone had got these aquadomes. And they were basically like your old threaded pole dome tents. And there was one night we were sat over on the ski slope on the church bank and it was howling wind, absolutely howling. They were sturdy little things, these. And there must have been 4, maybe 5 of us in this tent. I know there was me, Keith, I think Robbie might have been in there, Reg, CP. Anyway, we were all crammed in this little tent and me and Keith had 2 woks on the go and we'd made a big 2 vats of curry. And then Keith had also got all these boiling in the bag rices and he'd got them in a pan and they started bubbling and they were just about right. We were all zipped down, doors shut and the tent's going like crazy and we're in there smoking and drinking and laughing. We were having a right old time. You know, the weather outside was, you know, coincidental, but you were reminded constantly that it was there and it was sort of battering at the door trying to get in. So it got to a stage where the rice was done and needed draining. And like I say, everything was zipped down. We're all in there having a whale of a time. And Keith said to whoever, just unzip the door there so I can tip the water, like strain the rice. So whoever leant forward and unzipped the door, only about a foot and a half. And it was bashing in by now, the wind. And as the door was unzipped, the wind finally found its way into the dome tent, which just went whoop, like an air balloon in a millisecond. And it didn't have a sewn in ground sheet, these things, and it ripped every single peg out of the ground and the bivvy just disappeared like that, gone. And suddenly we're 5 blokes sat in a field at Horton in howling winds, in a gale force wind, with plates of curry waiting for the rice to be dished up and that. We're all pissed and smoked up and whatever. And it was so surreal. And all you could do was laugh. It was hilarious. And everything in the bivvy was getting battered and spread all over the place. And yeah, that is probably one of my finest memories, just for the craziness of it. They were good days, they were.
What I was getting at earlier in the intro before I was rudely interrupted by that carp is that it looks like there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel as far as the COVID situation is concerned, and hopefully we're going to be getting back out on the bank again soon. But more importantly, I need a barber's because I can't keep doing these DIY haircuts. Just to remind you, we are 100% independent. We have got no sponsors, no advertising, not even on YouTube. We don't take any money off of that. And all we ask back for that is a little bit of support from you guys. Whatever you can afford, if you can chuck in £3 a month, brilliant. Anyone who puts in £5 or more will go into the draw each month. And this month, you've got a chance to come fishing with us down at the Secret Mere. So once again, thank you very much for all your support. Like I say, all we aim to do is inspire and entertain and inform you lot. So if we can make you smile, laugh and give you the buzz to get out fishing more, then our job is done. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.